Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 6 of Broken Reel. This is a new measured intro we're trying after the abomination that was the holiday movie draft. I think a couple of us got a little too tipsy on the eggnog. So anyway, today I am your host, Jason Keefe. As always, I'm joined by Ethan Stell and Justin Slawter. Just Ethan and just Justin Slawter. We're trimming the fat off the shit sandwich that was that last episode. Let's go, baby.
Hello, everybody.
Hi. So, thank you, boys, for making it today. Sadly, the other attendees couldn't come, and you know what? It's their loss because they're going to miss out on the 2025 holiday movie draft results. I want to jump into that real quick so we can get to our other topic today that I outlined for you guys. So, in the draft, like I did for our horror movie draft, posted the results to the r/Letterboxd subreddit with very kind Reddit users that also subscribe to Letterboxd. And I posted it with our results and said, hey, pick these people. Who do you think got the best draft list? Last time we had some comments as well. We weighed them in as voting. No comments this time. No one was interested in commenting on it. It's okay. But we did get overall more voters on this poll than we did last time. So we're moving up in the world. So without further ado, the draft results. Coming in last place, Graham Davis.
Oh,
Graham Davis netted 0 votes.
Tough.
for his
That's
picks.
a tough one.
the cartoon pick was not the strategy, apparently.
Yeah, Graham drafted The Year Without the Santa Claus, 8 Crazy Nights, A Christmas Carol, the August Burns Red presents Sleddon Hill holiday album, and The Polar Express. Sorry, Graham. Better luck next time. Anyway, coming in a tender 5th place with only 1 vote right above Graham was yours truly. 1 solid vote for Jason, and I promise it wasn't me. I drafted National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, Just Friends, The Holiday, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, and Santa Claus is Coming to Town. 5th place for Jason.
Damn.
4th place, again, by the skin of his teeth, only 1 more vote than 5th place was Tyler. Tyler not here to take his 5th place prize.
Tyler got 4th?
Tyler got 4th with only 2 votes. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the original claymation, Elf, Die Hard, Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You, and Klaus. I think people must have hated him for picking Mariah Carey. Like, right? I think everyone hates that.
Yeah.
It's cool to hate that now because it plays in every single department store, every single restaurant, every single everything for like 2 months straight. I don't know. It's a popular pick. Apparently not popular enough.
Nah, he tried to go for the anti-mainstream. You know what I mean?
You're right.
They're not there yet.
Internet's not having that.
No.
Yeah.
That actually blew me away. I thought he would be the 1st or 2nd place.
Yeah. Bronze medalist is Ethan Stell.
Let's
with
go.
5 votes. Ethan, you're the powerful draft with Muppets Christmas Carol, Jingle All the Way, Lethal Weapon, Christmas of the Addams Family, and A Charlie Brown Christmas. And then, well, there's no excitement here because between Slawter and Lucas, I only have one of you here. So Slawter, sorry, but you only came in 2nd place.
Yeah.
Dang.
You came in 2nd place with, again, only 1 vote above Ethan at 6 votes total. Your final draft was A Christmas Story, Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas, Eyes Wide Shut, Gremlins, and Mickey's Christmas Carol. Lucas took home the gold, and he's not here to collect. And Lucas took home the gold with a staggering 14 votes over Slaughter's 6.
Whoa.
Lucas, hang on, quick maths, 11, 13, 14. Lucas had as many votes for just him as he did for everyone else combined.
I'm not surprised.
I know. Lucas took it home. Let's also be clear. Lucas, who had 1st round pick with Home Alone, took Home Alone, The Holdovers, Batman Returns, and
The double Grinch.
How the Grinch Go. Yeah, the double Grinch, Jim Carrey Grinch, and the original animation from 1966. So congratulations, Lucas. You take home the gold medal in the 2025 holiday movie draft.
Listen, I'm gonna be honest. Demand a recount. We need to take this up to the courts immediately. Okay.
Yeah, you're right. I think I deserve to be second. So
if we were recording this yesterday, we could storm the Capitol about it if you guys wanted to.
that's true.
Okay. Oh shit.
We'd storm the subreddit.
Yo.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So real quick as well, before we hop into the main discussion, I just want to do a little bit of a catch up because we took not 1 week, we took one episode off, which in a bi-weekly podcast is almost an entire month off basically, for the holidays. So we haven't really talked movies or had a recorded conversation in quite some time. I wanted to just do a quick little check-in over the holiday break. Ethan, I know you did some traveling, and I know you watched a lot of movies that came highly recommended from a few of us. I think you've mentioned Lucas for a few of them. Just curious, did you guys catch up on any holiday movies? Did you watch any new movies over the break or anything like that you want to quick give a shout out to?
I did. I watched a bunch of movies recently. 2 of them I want to go into for the main segment. But some of the ones, some honorable mentions that I watched were Eddington, Love Hurts, Mickey 17, and The Holdovers.
So most of those besides, I think was Love Hurts this year? I think Love Hurts was last year.
I think it was
2024.
last year.
Love Hurts was either
No,
early 25. Okay. 25, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so a lot of 25 movies, and then the holdovers from 23.
Yeah.
Late 23. Okay. I also watched the holdovers for the first time this year. And again, that was coming from Luke's recommendation. He also took it in his draft that we just recapped. So it was a good movie. I thought it was better than an average movie. I don't think it quite came in with the same heat that Lucas had to that, but I did enjoy it, and I thought it was a pretty good holiday movie with kind of those core themes and pretty touching as well. I would have taken more of that development between Paul Giamatti's character and the kid that I guess they just like put out a casting call for, and he was just like first time actor or something.
Yeah, I think he did. I like really good.
Yeah, I thought so as well. I just honestly would have taken even more of it, but yeah, it was a good movie.
I honestly, for a holiday movie, I think it punched above its weight. Like I think
for sure
achieved what it wanted to, but I would agree, like even more character development, like I was there for it. I had a really good time.
I agree completely. Slawter, did you have anything that you watched, or did you go completely opposite and stay away from the screens this season?
Yeah, not movies for sure. I have been catching up on some movies, but not necessarily like holiday related. So I think we had talked briefly about it, but I was running through a ton of Halloween movies, or not Halloween, like horror movies. So I watched The Quiet Place. I watched Pearl. There's a few other ones that I are not immediately coming to mind, but just trying to like hard catch up on a lot of that stuff that were pretty well renowned, but I'd never watched. So yeah, to that point too, I know that you were like you're saying, Ethan, punching above your weight for like a holiday movie is pretty hard. I think it's one of those things when you recognize like some movies. I had this realization with horror movies, I think, watching A Quiet Place, which was this movie is great, and it's like a blockbuster level movie where it has all the qualities of like a really good movie. It has all of the money you put into it. Everything's kind of really tight. It's got good narrative story on it and everything, but it's still not, I think in my opinion, up at that like getting above 80% out of 100 on Rotten Tomatoes kind of thing. And it's like, oh, that's just kind of the limitations of horror in general. It was one of those realizations that I had, like, hey, when a horror movie is really good, it's still not like at the top of the, at the top of the list that we would see like a normal action, blockbuster or like a drama, family drama, that kind of thing that would come out.
Yeah,
I tend to agree with you, Slaughter. Sorry, Ethan. I tend to agree with you, Slaughter. It's exciting to hear you say that because I don't think that's an unoriginal thought, but I'm happy to hear you say that now in what is probably going to be quite an interesting award season with Weapons and Sinners from last year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Original,
yeah, that's
original
really true.
IP, original horror IP from Kugler, kind of well known at this point, but from Kreger, who did Barbarian previously. And I think that there's definitely a case for some noms for those movies, whether they're like original screenplay for Sinners or actress like supporting for Amy Madigan in Weapons. But I'm excited to see horror movies to potentially finally have their time in the limelight. Ethan, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, it just to build on that, it feels like horror movies from a lot of like the schlocky slasher movies from the 80s and 90s. It felt like the genre is they have to work so much harder than I feel like a lot of other genres to like get that same level of recognition, just because people have like the preconceived notion that they're just like, I don't like horror in general. Like that's a thing that I just stay away from. And so, yeah, I think that they definitely, as someone who likes weird, bad horror movies, I go out of my way to try and find them. I do feel like they have a uphill battle.
Hashtag the void.
True.
Hashtag watch the
True.
void.
Let me know when you've seen it.
I will.
Oh,
all right.
I also watched Weapons. I know we didn't talk about it yet because I don't think everybody had watched it yet, but that was an amazing movie. Yeah.
Awesome. So good.
Yeah.
Did you catch Sinners yet, Slawter?
No, I haven't. It's definitely on my list.
Okay.
But my problem is I keep waking up late and getting 2.5 hours on screen time is rough. So I haven't watched Eddington either for that reason too.
I think if you're trying to catch up on anything pre-award season, or even just anything in terms of quality of film from last year that you want to try to avoid any spoilers from, or anything like that, like the sooner you can get into the zeitgeist around the story that is Sinners, I think the better. We've talked about some other movies from last year, but it sounds like you're doing catch up on, but Sinners is definitely up there for sure.
Fantastic. Yeah. Super good.
I don't think I'll catch it before the Grammys, but I'll definitely get it before the Oscars. So
cool. Yeah. Well, they give Grammys to musicians, so I think you'll break.
Oh my God, what was I thinking about? The Golden Globes. Oh my God.
Yeah, the Golden Globes.
Oh my God. But yeah,
hey, maybe it'll get a Grammy too. Who knows?
Actually,
that's a great
they might.
point. Oh, wait,
they might.
Wait, did Slaughter's big brain us? Holy cow!
But yeah,
right,
Michael B. Jordan is awesome. He is somebody that has, again, he's done such good work recently, and for somebody that was just kind of like I'm not sure how this guy's gonna pan out. Like him in Sinners is awesome
for sure. All right, well, let's move on to the meat and potatoes of this episode. So last week I sent the call out, and I was struggling with a couple ideas. I did kind of want to do like a 2025 year in review, and maybe we will do that closer to the Academy Awards after everyone has had a little more time to catch up on things that either being nominated or things that you just didn't have time to watch yet or anything like that. So instead, I figured we would do kind of like a something old, something new idea for this episode. So what I tasked you guys with today was to bring one movie from 2025 that you watched that you really connected with or just thought was an amazing achievement, anything like that. And I also wanted you to bring another movie that you watched for the first time in 2025, but necessarily didn't come out in 2025. Actually, explicitly didn't come out in 2025. One new 2025 release and one new 2025 discovery, I think is the way I put it. So we're going to be talking about two movies each here, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, who knows. But I think we can just dive right into it. I'm excited to talk about what you guys watched last year that are new discoveries, and what you guys watched maybe even in the theaters and had a great time. So does anyone want to volunteer to go first?
Sure. The movie that I just watched that came out in 2025 that I wanted to talk a little bit about is a thriller called The Woman in the Yard.
Okay, I remember this movie coming out. I remember seeing the trailer ad nauseum for a couple months.
And I think that the movie does some really cool stuff. I don't think that it is particularly good in general. Like overall, I think it's like a totally fine thriller, but I think it does a bunch of cool things. And part of the setup for this is like thinking of horror movies. This is like a horror thriller. A lot of horror movies, as you all know, like the scary, the intense things happens at night. And we've had a movie that came out a few years ago, Midsommar, which is kind of like, it turns it on its head, where it's like the whole thing is during the day, and that's really cool. And this movie kind of does like its own spin on that, where the setup for this is that it's during the day, where like this lady just like appears in the middle of their, lawn, basically in this chair, in this weird black veil. And as the day progresses from like midday to later in the afternoon, the cool monster mechanics of this character is that like they can manipulate other objects with their shadow. If you've seen, like Naruto or whatever.
Shikamaru, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so she's a Naruto character.
Yeah, sure, why not? But there's, it's
okay.
like she's really creepy and they go out and try and talk to her and she's saying some weird stuff, and that's cool. It's, it's good thriller, like the power is out in the house and so nobody can call, and they're living in the countryside, and it's like a single mother who has like 2 young kids and she's injured so she can't like leave, and so there's like a lot of setup for this. But I think it's just like a cool use of time, because again, like she can only manipulate things with her shadow, and so it's like as it is turning from day into like dusk, into twilight, where you have like that long shadow from behind, that's when the character can start like interacting a bunch with the people in the house as the shadow is like moving through. And so it's kind of like taking that bad things happening at night in most horror thrillers, and Midsummer is like during the day, and this one is kind of like during the twilight hours, or like when the most bad stuff are happening.
So that's interesting. So does she like do her powers, excuse me, I'm trying to put myself in the logic of this, science fiction kind of horror movie. Do her powers, can she like hop from shadow to shadow as they touch each other? Or is it just like whenever her shadow touches the shadow of one of the other people, she can just like get them?
Yeah, more the second one, where it's like, honestly, there are points in the movie where it's like, as the tension is ratcheting up, people are like, sitting in windows, like looking at her. They may like go to do something else, and then like she will appear slightly closer, and then we'll be like, she won't be moving herself, but her shadow may be like moving and reflecting on the back wall and like knocking stuff around, or like knocking the chandelier towards somebody, or like grabbing people, but she is not physically moving for the most part.
Okay, so she is in the yard in that chair for basically the entire movie.
It's a pretty short movie, but little under 90 minutes, and I think she is there in the yard for probably 70 of those 90 minutes.
Now, what's really interesting, I don't know the answer. I'm going to ask you what I'm formulating in my head, which I think would be a really cool, what would be really cool conceptually for this movie based off the information you've now given me, is that does this movie only does it take place over the course of one day and that's it?
Yes. It basically starts at noon, when the shadows are, least stretched because the sun is at its zenith. And then the end of the movie is, dawn of the next day, basically.
Okay. See, I really like that. Like you said, as the tension ratchets up, at noon, presumably the sun is very high up in the sky, not casting much of a shadow, if so directly beneath most of the characters or objects in daylight. So as the sun sets, again, like you said, the tension gets ratcheted up, and we start to see her able to interact with the people in the house a little bit more. And then once we're at like dusk, basically her shadow is being cast on the house in its entirety, and she just has full control over everything.
Yeah.
And then that's it. I think you can really effectively have like that slow burn for 90 minutes just over the course of that maybe 12-hour window or 16-hour window that this movie takes place. Okay. I from what you're describing here, I'm more interested in it than I was just seeing the trailer, for sure, because I think Lucas and I kind of share the same opinion on some of the Blumhouse stuff lately. I think we're in the new era of like that 90s 2000s schlock horror, and not to say that Blumhouse puts out bad things, but it's just kind of like the popcorn horror, you know, rather than like your art horror, or rather than like the actually wants to scare the shit out of you horror.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be honest, I thought this was like in the world of The Woman in Black, so I didn't even give it a second thought.
Sure.
Oh, like the nun and stuff.
The Daniel Radcliffe movie from like
the Daniel Radcliffe movie.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh!
Yeah. That was
strangely enough, I saw
so
that movie
bad.
in theaters.
I
remember a part where
it's one of the only movies I've actually fallen asleep in the theater while I was watching.
Oh no, a horse died in that movie.
I don't remember that.
I think a horse died in that movie because it like got eaten up by like this huge sludge outside the house. And then I also think that there was like, I think that there might have been like news articles that came out later that maybe the horse actually died.
Oh my
I gotta
God.
look that up. Well, I could be wrong, but craziness. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I would say there are a lot of elements of this movie that I think are cool, but I think that the end just doesn't land the way that it's supposed to.
This movie only came out 11 months ago. Do you want to talk about the ending, or do you not want to spoil it for people who may want to go see it? I think you should talk about it.
Sure.
Personally, but yeah,
Okay.
I'm interested, and you've talked about the movie thus far.
Yeah. So a huge focus on the movie is less about like, we'll say, the monster mechanics. I mean, that is like a thing that they have to deal with a bunch, but it is also like the single mother who was hurt was from a car crash. And so it is like about like a lot of the movies about like survivor's guilt from like being in the car with your significant other, getting into a car crash and being the one that lives. And so it's a lot of it is about like survivor's guilt and about being like mentally affected, and the mother is treating the kids poorly because of all of the stress, and the woman in the yard is supposed to be like, if you've seen the Babadook, it's like very much about like the manifestation of like depression.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that is like one of the big, it's one of the key parts to this movie, is that it's just like we get to the point at the end of the movie basically where it's like we're getting a lot of like kind of like flashbacks, we're getting like PTSD moments where it's a lot of like staggered, dissonant scenes kind of like as the climax is happening, and it just doesn't quite jive with me. It just doesn't quite hit where I feel like the Babadook did. It's a similar kind of story where I feel like the end of that movie is great, except for the one dinosaur noise that it makes that really pulls me out of it. That happens at the end of the Babadook, and I was just like, what the hell? That is like the sound of like a velociraptor. So that's like a, there is a really intense scene that works at the like, in the last like 2 minutes of this, where there's like the woman in the yard who is like trying to convince the mother to like shoot herself. And she's like, the mother is like sitting down, and the woman is like standing behind her, like pulling a shotgun barrel towards like the underside of her head. It's pretty intense, but there's enough of that ending scene that I was like, this part just like doesn't feel that earned to me. It's a great scene, but it felt like the build up to get me there just didn't work enough. So it felt a little off.
I think I can safely say I won't be watching this movie anytime soon.
Yeah. I think it's got like cool monster stuff. We'll say, like supernatural things going on that I was like, and with the Twilight being the time where most of the bad stuff is happening again, as opposed to as other horror movies, it was interesting enough to want to talk about.
It's totally fair. But I'm glad you brought it up. So The Woman in the Yard from 2025. All right. You want to talk about your next movie? Your 2025 Discovery?
Yeah, something that I also watched. I want to say it was on the same plane flight that I watched The Woman in the Yard, which may have...
so these are plane viewings. They may have impacted... Okay, they may have impacted your experience a little bit. Okay.
Which was Conclave.
Okay, let's go.
Conclave, which just came out in 2024. This movie blew me away. I thought it was so good. Like, it's... Ray Fiennes' character is one of the cardinals who is... the Pope dies, and he has to run the conclave to, like, elect the new Pope, or find the new Pope, I guess is the right terminology. And so, getting all of the cardinals together and trying to find who would be the best new Pope, it's just such an intense powerful movie, even as somebody who is not particularly religious. Like, just the whole process and the vetting of all of the different cardinals, super intense, great acting. I've never heard more people breathe through their nose in my entire life. That happens constantly in this movie.
You'd showed me the list of the movies that you caught up on, and I think I said to you a couple of days ago when you showed me, I couldn't believe that Conclave wasn't one of the few films that I've shoved down your throat like I have other ones, because it is essentially a newsroom procedural, just taking place during the conclave. It just didn't even dawn on me to recommend this to you, knowing your affinity for movies like All the President's Men and things of that nature. So yeah, this movie rocked so hard. I particularly really enjoyed like the cinematography of this movie, and just like the color palette too, the reds that they all wore against kind of like all of the matted neutral colors, the whites and grays of the building that they're in all the time. I really enjoyed it. It's by Edward Berger, who has done a fair amount of things lately, and is usually up in like the his name usually comes up a lot when we're talking about awards noms and things like that. He did the All Quiet on the Western Front remake in 2022 that I think won some awards, and I think Conclave even took some awards home as well. This movie rocks so hard. Ray Fiennes and John Lithgow, Stanley Tucci, Isabella Rossellini, so many. I really liked Isabella Rossellini in this movie, and I remember there being I think she was nommed for supporting actress, but I needed her to do a little bit more. I needed her to have like one more mic drop scene, because she really didn't have a lot to do in it, even though I understand she was important to the plot. I just could have taken more of her, you know?
Yeah, I'm honestly a bit surprised that she didn't get to do more, because her one scene that she was the head of was excellent, but I was hoping for a little bit more.
It did win. It won Best Adapted Screenplay at the Academy Awards. Good on you, one Peter Strawn.
Yeah, it deserves it. It's the best movie that I've seen in quite a while. Like, I would rate this very, very highly.
Performed extremely well too. Not that it matters, obviously, but on a budget of $20 million, box office $128 million, doing well. That was great.
Interesting that
great
it's
movie.
So inexpensive, I guess.
Tough that you watched this on a plane, for sure. Woman on the Yard, I can understand, but tough on this one.
Yeah. No, I mean, if it detracted, it didn't detract very much, because I was having an excellent time. It's because I was watching this at the same time that Shannon was. We had started at the same time, and we just kept looking at each other like, this movie rocks. This is so good.
Did you watch it on the way to Italy, or?
We did.
Okay. All right.
That's
I
awesome.
feel like that's good.
Yeah, it was so good.
That's good context right there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For sure. I don't think about it often, because it's such a difficult like choice to make. But Ray Fiennes might be like top 5 actors for me. I will see him in anything. I'll watch him in anything.
He's got credible range too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He sure does. Awesome. Well, any other Conclave thoughts? Slawter, did you see Conclave or Woman in the Yard, or any interest here?
No, yeah. Unfortunately, I do like political dramas, but I don't like political dramas that are based on like history or historiography. You know what I mean?
Sure, like historical adaptation or anything.
Yeah,
like that.
I've never watched Lincoln. I probably never will. So
okay.
Yeah, probably the same thing with Conclave. But I mean, it's got some of my favorite actors in it, but I just don't think that sometimes that stuff just doesn't tickle my fancy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess we can move on to Slawter. Slawter, you want to share your picks?
All right. Yeah. I'm glad to go in the middle, because I feel like both my picks are pretty somber. So
perfect.
2025, wanted to call out ahead of the Academy Awards and the Oscars and the Golden Globes, right? There's a lot of good international films, and one of the first that I chose to watch it was Just an Accident, which is a film that was shot and is centered around Iran and a lot of the kind of political turmoil and past trauma, a lot of things that happen to have to do with the everyday man kind of how they're experiencing life and what kind of traumas they've experienced in the past and everything like that. So have you guys heard of the film?
I sure have, and I know that Jafar Panahi has been doing some incredible work. From
He's Iranian, yeah.
He is Iranian. Okay. Yeah. I know. Well, I think his last, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be totally wrong on this, but if I'm not mistaken, his last feature, like got him put in prison because of like the harsh, like restrictions around like, I don't know a lot about it, but if I'm not mistaken, I think he was put in prison for what he was doing, essentially going around filming candid scenes of like what's going on in the country.
Exactly, and I think that's one of the reasons why I was drawn to this movie first out of all of them. So when I heard about this movie, the way it was told or kind of explained was this movie got a director arrested because it is currently basically he's getting arrested for releasing this movie now, and it's going to be the third time that he's been arrested and tried for crimes against the I don't know if caliphate's the right word, but like the regime, the Iranian regime, right? Mm-hmm. So the story of this is that he has been banned since either 2002 or 2008 from actually doing any cinematography activities. So it's not even like he can't get a permit to film. It's he's not supposed to be associated with any filmography happening in Iran. And so in order to get this shot, he partnered up with a French production company. They helped to fund a lot of the things that they were doing. And all of this movie was shot basically entirely with a skeleton crew. And somehow it doesn't show in the movie, which is awesome. So there's some little things here and there, but I always kept that in the back of my mind while I was watching this movie. The whole story of it is that it follows a guy who runs into somebody who he believes was a prison guard or like the head of a prison when this prison camp was arresting political activists and torturing them. And so this man, his name in the movie is Vahid. Vahid was basically being beaten constantly while he was in this term for the prison camp. He got out. He's kind of living a normal life now. But the beating that he incurred actually did damage to his kidneys to the point where like he needs to go to the hospital. He needs to take medicine on a regular everyday basis. I'm not really sure why. It doesn't really get into like specifics of that, but the idea is that he has this like physical and mental, wound from the prison stint that he had from being part of a political activist movement. So yeah, he runs into this guy who is named Pegleg. He has an artificial leg. So the sound of the artificial leg is very distinct. In the very opening of the movie, he hears the leg moving, and it like perks his interest immediately. He starts hiding. He gets really concerned. He eventually follows this guy, hits him on the head, kidnaps him, takes him out into the desert, and basically proceeds to bury him. But then he stops and decides, I'm not really sure if this is actually the guy. I was always blindfolded. I'm really just going off of strictly what I heard over this 3 to 4 week period where I was detained. And I'm not really confident this is the guy. So he goes around Iran to multiple people that he knew in the that were imprisoned at the same camp, trying to find somebody who can confirm this guy's identity so that he can feel good about killing him. And the entire movie goes through the kind of the mental anguish of, is it good to kill this person that has done such bad things to you, even if it is the right person? And if it's the wrong person, how can you be sure if it is the right person? You've already kidnapped them. What do you do now? The Iranian regime obviously would come very heavy-handedly on him, regardless of this guy was the right guy or not. Right? It's really interesting. It's pretty tense throughout the film. It's really interesting too about the cultural aspects of Iran that show through it. So the type of movies that Panahi shoots is generally it's considered from the Iranian New Wave movement. So a lot of it's supposed to be realist. It's showing kind of the day-to-day, the everyman, and kind of how they're experiencing life, and trying to show, these are the experiences that people are having around them, and really showing that experience out to the world too. That's one of the reasons why he's considered basically a propagandist against the Iranian regime for that. And it really shows throughout the film too, the way that it's shot. you can tell a lot of the ways that they position the camera that like they're not supposed to be filming, but they get really good shots of on the street. You can see they do shots of like on like from a rooftop, and they're shooting the actors as they walk below. And they also shoot in multiple ways that actually would be that are against the laws. Like for instance, they shoot women who don't have a hijab on in the film, which is obviously a huge no in the country. But he does it anyways, and he shows them in experiences and acting in ways that are basically illegal through their cultural laws that they have. So the movie's honestly great. I don't want to go too much into the actual ending and everything unless you guys want me to go further, but really it's a great watch. I would definitely recommend it to anybody.
No, I really don't want to hear more because I really want to watch this movie.
Yeah,
I only explained the first like 15 minutes, and the movie's about an hour 50 long. So
I have to travel a bit to get some of these more idiosyncratic films in my area, so I don't always get like the deep cuts or like the international features or anything like that. So, but I'm really glad that this was your pick. Came out of left field, and you sounds like you've done the research, and it sounds like you really enjoyed the movie. And I'm happy to hear someone speaking so highly of Jafar Panahi's work, because I think he's going to be a real contender for director and a real contender for Best International this year. Yeah. Ethan, just to give you a brief history on Panahi's work. So he had two features released in 95 and 97. In 2000, he puts out This Circle, that was banned in Iran before it was released. 03, Crimson Gold, banned in Iran before release. 06, Offside, banned in Iran before release. 2011, this is my entrance to Panahi. This is not a film. He made this illegally while he was on house arrest, appealing a 6-year prison sentence and a 20-year ban on further filmmaking. And then after the film was completed, it had to be smuggled on a flash drive out of Iran to France. Like, I know, insane. To continue real quick, 2013, Closed Curtain, illegal. 2015, Taxi, illegal. 2018, Three Faces, illegal. 2022, No Bears, illegal. And It Was Just an Accident, illegal. I mean, obviously, the entire story around Jafar and his filmmaking techniques and the kind of parameters around what's going on is insane. And it sounds like, I think a lot of the stuff that he's doing is like, if I think This Is Not a Film is like a documentary, right? So it's a lot it's a lot of like either documentary or like candid kind of photography in these films, like you were talking about. It Was Just an Accident. I'm excited to see this movie.
Yeah. One more thing too, I guess just more in the techniques of it. The cinematography in this is phenomenal. So like I was talking about, they had a lot of restrictions to how they could shoot the movie. There are some shots in here that are very long, and I don't understand how they did it so well with the restrictions that they were under. There's a couple of scenes where basically there's a quote unquote set. The sound comes through really well. You can actually hear the wind and see the wind, and I believe it was caught like on mic. I don't think it was piped in editing. The audio comes through super crisp, and then the shots are very, very long. The actors do not seem like they break or even just do a poor job. It looks like it was almost basically done in a single take without any issues. And he just uses panning and zooming the entire time for a super long, tense take. And he does that like 3 or 4 times throughout the movie, and it's great.
I'm really, I mean, you say that this is made with like skeleton crew. I'm really curious as to like, and even when I think about it, you know, I've only run into maybe 1 or 2 film sets, like active film sets in my life, like on the streets. Mm-hmm. It's kind of difficult to hide that, you know, like it's quite a big production, and I understand that that's probably the opposite point of what they're trying to do here. But like, is he shooting these things on iPhones? You know, is he like real low profile when doing these kinds of things? I'm just curious.
I don't think it was that low profile. I couldn't actually find any info on it as far as how they actually did it. But the one thing that I did see is, I believe the van in the film, which you'll see when you watch it, was basically the shooting van, and it looks just like a technical van, right? I think there was basically just one extra person on top of who they could fit into that van who was driving around with them to shoot it, and that was basically it.
Not that we're going to cover anything like that, but so Richard Linklater, who did like the Before trilogy, School of Rock, Dazed and Confused, etc. He had 2 movies come out last year. One of them was called Nouvelle Vague, which is basically a movie about the making of Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless. And so they were getting extremely innovative during the shooting. And so in Linklater's version of the story of Breathless's conception, they are putting like their cinematographer in like a wheelbarrow essentially and cutting out a hole for the lens and putting like a rug over it and just cutting out a hole in the rug, so just the lens is barely peeking out of the wheelbarrow while the cinematographer is being pushed by somebody else and shooting like the two main characters walking down the street, just so that they're not getting like, so that they can get the shot that they want on the low with very little budget and not have to like shut down the street or try to make a whole deal out of it. Just have like the normal people of France walking down next to them while they shoot. I just love shit like that, man. It's awesome.
Yeah. No, I think that was basically the selling point for me for watching this movie, and it delivered on every single part. I don't think it was an amazing movie, but it's definitely great. It's 100% a need to watch movie.
Hell yeah. Awesome. What else did you watch in 2025?
So to go off of that, I've been trying to test myself to watch slower movies for just the experience of becoming a better film watcher. I know we've talked about this before about like doing Tarkovsky, and I still haven't gotten or warmed myself up to that point. But one movie that I thought was going to be part of that, because it is a kind of a slower burn movie, is Hunger, the 2008 one, not the 30 other movies that you'll see if you look it up, but Michael Fassbender, Steve McQueen.
Yes.
Yeah. So just an amazing movie. Obviously, selfishly, have Irish background. I was like, I always, talk about the Hunger, like jokingly almost. And then, I sing Black and Tans, Comanche Black and Tans on St. Patrick's Day. But no, this movie is phenomenal. And it was one of those things where I haven't watched 12 Years a Slave, but I always thought of it as a kind of like a torture porn movie from the things I saw about it. But in reality, and I think this has definitely warmed me up to finally watch that, Steve McQueen really is good at just giving a very raw, realistic look at an event that happened. So
absolutely, the
plot of it is it's a 1981 Irish hunger strike that occurred. I think it's like technically some of the parts of the movies are between like 79, 80, and 81, but starts off following a prison guard, through a long stream, entry to the point where it passes it off to an inmate who carries on the focus of the lens from there. And then the whole riling up of the prison, why they're there, how they're communicating in between in between prisoners so that they can, still communicate with people outside of the prison and learn, what are the orders from, the activists that they're working with, with the IRA or with the, with the independence movement from Ireland. Right. And the movie's just phenomenal as a set piece to just kind of explain, hey, this is what happened. It's a very raw look. There's people, in protest taking their shit and rolling it all over the walls. And then, there's the prison guards coming in and beating the shit out of them and trying to set them back and cutting their hair for them and washing them because they're disgusting. And then the whole turmoil and political turmoil that's happening between them. It's just a very raw look at what happened or what was happening at that time and giving context to the situation of like why this hunger strike started. And then obviously that leads to the keynote piece of it, which is a dialogue and monologue between the two characters, Bobby Sands and Father Morin, which are played by Fassbender and Leon Cunningham. And that's, that's one of those like keynote, like pure kino cinematography moments when it comes to the actual dialogue and monologue of that. So
the Scorsese gif, the pure cinema, like,
yeah, exactly.
If you, I mean, like, and not to cut you off, but I'm a fraud. I didn't know that Hunger was McQueen's debut feature. I thought it was just like smack dab in the middle. I thought he'd been making films forever. I only heard about him probably when he hit mainstream. I would say mainstream with 12 Years a Slave, and then went back and got Hunger later. But I had no idea until just now that this was his feature debut. And
No, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't not talk about this movie without talking about the that scene between Fassbender and Cunningham.
For sure. And it was written and directed by him. This is like his directorial debut, but he was a writer before. So he was working on a lot of film stuff, I think up to 10 to 15 years prior. So he wasn't like new to the scene technically, but it was his first foray to say like, here's a full-time director role, and you know, I'm on a budget for this film. And then obviously getting Michael Fassbender, I think, was just coming up at that time, like as far as becoming like a more common name in everybody's house. And then you know, Liam Cunningham is also a very decent actor. I don't think he's ever been in anything like very major, but he's very, very good.
I swear to God, I mean, I don't know what the Guinness Book of World Records record is for holding your breath, but at the end of that scene, I thought I was not breathing the entire time. Yeah. Ethan, the scene that Slawter's referring to is 17 and a half minutes long, and it's just the shot of Michael Fassbender and Liam Cunningham sitting at a small table, and the camera, I think, is like a slow zoom the entire time for 17 minutes straight, as they just have, it's like these two fucking like titans of cinema, and it's not exciting, obviously. It's extremely exhilarating, though. It's like remarkable to watch that. I mean, you should watch the movie, absolutely, but you can even just go to YouTube and watch that scene. It's unbelievable. And
I love that scene too, because you can tell, you know, I do think that I really put a lot of favor and think a lot about the cinematography itself. So like, what is the cinematographer thinking? What's the director telling them to do? It's one of my favorite things to do when thinking about a movie. And that scene in particular, where it starts out, it's more widescreen. You can see a lot more. There's more light that's kind of like coming in, or the light changes from the single window that's in the shot. And the way that it's set up, you know, Father Moran comes in, his head's cut off. He sets his, he sets his jacket down. He sits down. Then he's in the shot, and then they're doing the conversation. And then once it ends, he stands up, and at that point, you know, he's cut off. He's no longer a part of the focus, and then he leaves. Like I feel like the thought and care put into everything, including up to the point where they have an ashtray. They're smoking darts like animals, and like throughout the entire scene, and it that almost helps to show the actual time passed through it too, because by the end of it, you know, they have an empty ashtray. By the end of it, they have I think like 4 or 5 cigarettes that are smoked and put out in the ashtray. So it's a phenomenal movie overall. There's a couple of scenes that I don't want to spoil it for Ethan if you haven't watched it, but there's a couple of scenes where it's a little bit shocking, where I'm like, oh, I didn't expect that to happen, but it's very raw, quick, and then they just move on. And it's awesome.
Both movies that you've talked about sound incredible, and so I'm going to be checking them out.
Cool. I'm working well as a movie salesman, I guess. So
no, it was great. It was great work. I'm excited to hear. This is a great exercise, I think, in movies that you guys found. And honestly, the 2025 release is a little tough because you know, not everyone makes it out to the movies every single year. Not everybody has the free time to make it out to a new release or something like that, but I think we all do occasionally watch movies, and I think a lot of us are always catching up on backlog stuff. So finding one over the course of a few months or a year that you found that really resonated with you, and listening to you guys talk about these movies, like Hunger and
Conclave,
that's right. More recent movie, but still one that you had to catch up on. Yep. Still, I mean, amazing movies. So cool. All right. Any other thoughts on Hunger before we move on?
The food looks disgusting in the movie for a movie named Hunger.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Nice. But it's also British, so yeah.
All right. I'm gonna roll into my 2 picks, and then we're done. We'll keep this short and sweet. I guess we are already at 54 minutes. It's all right. So I wanted to go with a little bit of a theme for my 2 picks. As I was scrolling through the movies that I watched last year, and I was looking through specifically the ones that I, you know, like rated 5 stars or ones that I really enjoyed that I could remember multiple viewings or whatever. And when I was looking at some of the higher ones, I thought I saw a little bit of a parallel between 2 movies. So I was like, oh my God, I'm going to do that. And I'm just going to approach this with a little bit of a theme. So my theme is the buddy action comedy. The first movie that I'm going to talk about is not the 2025 release, but it's a movie that I watched for the first time in 2025. And I'm sure maybe you guys have seen, at least I know that I have heard about this movie, and I've seen and know when this movie is being parodied or referenced or anything like that in other TV shows, movies, etc. This is Midnight Run from 1988. Midnight Run, if you guys are unfamiliar with it, here's a synopsis. A bounty hunter pursues a former mafia accountant who is also being chased by a rival bounty hunter, the FBI, and his old mob boss after jumping bail. This movie stars Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin. It's also got some support from Yaphet Kotto, John Ashton, Dennis Farina, and Joe Pantoliano. So directed by Martin Brest, who, after doing a little bit more research, also directed Beverly Hills Cop, buddy action comedy. Written by George Gallo, who also wrote Bad Boys, the remake in 95 with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. So another buddy cop movie, or buddy action movie. Not specifically cops, but buddy action, you know. Director of photography on this film was Donald E. Thorin, who also shot Thief, which is Michael Mann's debut film. He reunited with Brest for Scent of a Woman, as I was talking about previously, and he also shot, out of nowhere, Ace Ventura 2, When Nature Calls. So I like to see this award-winning cinematographer, this award-winning cinematographer, breaking ground with movies like Beverly Hills Cop and Scent of a Woman, and then also shooting Jim Carrey and just like lining up the shot and just being like, okay, I need the light to be hitting him just right as he bursts out of the rhino's ass. Yeah. Or as he's when you're up in the tree and you're talking with your asshole doing the Tarzan chant, like I just need a little more of you to the left, you know? And shockingly, music by Danny Elfman, who everyone knows works in every single Tim Burton movie, who also shockingly again did Men in Black, the first Mission Impossible movie, and fan favorite of the show, Good Will Hunting, which is something I never remember. But I know every time I watch Good Will Hunting, the opening credits, music by Danny Elfman, I'm like, oh shit, and I hear it, and then it leaves my brain. Danny Elfman did the music for Good Will Hunting, fantastic. So. Also, just to briefly talk about the success of this movie, it had a budget of $30 million and box office around $80 million. It's 126 minutes long and it's R-rated. So this movie is fucking phenomenal. And I finally understand why it is parodied or referenced in like every single piece of media ever. It's not, I mean... Your mileage may vary on best like buddy action movie, because obviously subcategories can be like lean more comedy, lean more action, specifically buddy cop movies like your Beverly Hills Cop or like 48 Hours or something like that. But this just has a great mix of everything. And obviously, De Niro is fantastic in it as the bounty hunter. So Charles Grodin, though, who... If I'm being completely honest, he's a complete blind spot for me. I think I had maybe heard his name, but that was pretty much it. The only thing I knew about this movie going into it was that two guys basically trying to make it across the country in like, I don't know, a week or something, and De Niro's in it. So Charles Grodin, who was an actor, a comedian, and an author. He did die in 2021, but I was looking at his filmography, and the dude just like pops up everywhere. He, I think, is the doctor in Rosemary's Baby. He's in The Heartbreak Kid, which got him a Best Actor nom at the Golden Globes. He's in The Great Muppet Caper, Ethan. So this guy's in everything. He's in Dave. So I Married an Axe Murderer. Like so many things. He's just popping up as like not the lead, but just off the lead, usually supporting. He delivers such like a. I think his comedy just jives with me. It's kind of sarcastic, it's kind of dry, but like super genuine. The dichotomy like between his personality and De Niro, basically just being De Niro. He's loud, he's over the top, he's angry, but that can be funny when you watch him because he's also so charming. In the movie, this entire time, it's tough because all of these people basically want Charles Grodin dead. And De Niro wants to hand him in because he's a bounty hunter. He's going to get X amount of dollars for him, whatever. And over the course of the movie, you basically see these two guys connect as they're trying to cross the country. And what devolves into like a planes, trains, and automobiles situation. They try to get on the plane, then the plane gets, grounded. And then they try to get on, and they get on the train, then they got to jump off the train. Then they try to rent a car, and then the car breaks down. Like it's constantly like that kind of thing. And it's just one nightmare after another. It's very entertaining to watch. and you get to the end, and there's, things happen. Charles Grodin kind of delivers like the emotional coda at the end of the story. And after watching a 2-hour action comedy that you're mostly laughing at the juxtaposition of these two characters, and like De Niro being so furious with him most of the time, by the end of the movie, when Charles Grodin's done talking, you're in tears. I'm just like, what did this movie just pull? It is an unbelievably emotionally resonant moment at the end of that movie. And it's got such good lines too. I mean, the ending sequence between those two, and then De Niro signs off with a line, it's just unforgettable. Charles Grodin, just again, I looked at his filmography. I guess he's like just a phenomenal character actor. He was in all those movies I listed previously, but he also had like a shitload of like small one-off episode roles in television throughout like the 60s and the 90s, or from the 60s to the 90s. Just like one episode of Law and Order, one episode of this, one episode of that, everything. And at one point he had his own talk show that ran for like a whole season. And he also wrote a bunch of books and a bunch of plays and stuff like that. So I think the reason this movie really stands out is it's just a really good early example of what, again, buddy action, buddy cop, whatever. I think buddy cop is just easy to put there because two partners are cops or whatever. But like this one specifically, not technically buddy cop, but bounty hunter and bounty, I guess, as they kind of traverse through all of the exterior exterior influences that are being put upon them. So it came out in 88. Other like movies I think that really only predated this that I'm familiar with at least are 48 Hours, Lethal Weapon, and Beverly Hills Cop, like I was mentioning. I think kind of the problem I have with those movies, though, I mean, they're fantastic movies, don't get me wrong, but the problem is that because they are buddy cop movies, it's like you get into the movie and you're just very well aware that these two main characters are the good guys, and they gotta beat the bad guys, so it's just very black and white. And again, don't get me wrong, that can be good. But when you meet these two characters, you're like, I know De Niro, and I love De Niro, and he can be a good guy, and he can be a fucking mean, vicious, evil guy. And all you know about him at the beginning of this movie is that he's just a bounty hunter, which is like, you see the bounty hunter role in a lot of movies, and it's just like morally gray. Just that's all those characters are, and so they eventually feel like they have to lean one direction or not. And then you're introduced to Charles Grodin, who is like one of the most likable, sensitive guys ever, and all of these people want him dead because he was a mafia accountant and he stole money from the mafia, but to give it to less fortunate people. So it's like, this is a good guy. Yeah. Like, he's a good guy and everyone wants him dead. And the bounty hunter, who we're unsure of, that just wants to hand him in, hates him at the beginning of the movie. And obviously, things progress by the end of the movie. So, but I mean, it's a movie from 1988. I don't want to spoil it. I mean, this is fantastic. Have you guys seen the movie?
No.
Oh my God. You should absolutely watch it. 100%.
It looks up my alley.
Is there a Family Guy clip that is this?
Oh no.
I can almost guarantee you that Family Guy parodied this. I know that there's a Slawter. I don't know how familiar you are. I don't remember if you watch it, but I know Ethan watched it. There's an entire episode of Archer that's called Midnight Ron, where they get Ron Cadillac and Archer, and they basically remake the entire movie in that 25-minute episode of the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fantastic. And De Niro gives De Niro gives like the best sign-off line. De Niro gets some money at the end of the movie. He walks up to attack after completing his mission, whether or not he actually handed Grodin in or not, or whatever. After it's over, he walks up to a taxi and he's got the cash in his hand, and he leans over to the taxi and he just goes, "You got change for 1,000?" And the guy's just like, "Nope," and drives off. And then he just pulls up his jacket collar. I guess I'm walking, and then credits start rolling. It's just iconic end scene.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah, so it's fantastic. It will make you laugh, and it might even make you cry. And it's got two perfect performances from De Niro doing basically his typical De Niro thing, but also leaning into the comedy. I mean, there is one scene where he's in a phone booth talking about like how he's going to kill Charles Grodin, basically, if the mafia doesn't pay him. And Charles Grodin's like outside the phone booth, like, what are you saying? And De Niro's just like puts the phone down and covers the mouthpiece and just does like the frowny face, like, no, I'm lying. Don't worry about it. I just like broke out into fucking laughter when I saw it the first time. So yeah, this movie's fantastic. Midnight Run was an instant classic the moment I saw it, and now I know why. Okay. So the next movie I'm going to talk about, the last movie we're going to talk about today, that, like I said, is going to briefly follow the theme of the buddy action comedy. And I don't know if either of you guys have watched this yet, but you guys have been talking about it constantly, is Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another. Have either of you guys had the ability to see this yet?
No.
Nope, but I've heard that it's incredible.
It is incredible. It is the greatest movie of 2025. So here's the synopsis. When their evil enemy resurfaces after 16 years, a group of ex-revolutionaries reunite to rescue the daughter of one of their own. So, like I said, written and directed by PTA. It is an adaptation of Thomas Pynchon's Vineland. Vineland is a book that came out, I think, in the 80s, I want to say, or maybe early 90s. That is a postmodern political satire that is surrounding Reagan's re-election with themes of like free spirit of rebellion versus fascist repression, and it covers like basically the entire time frame through like the 60s to the 90s. A couple other just key filmmakers here. Director of photography was Michael Bauman, who is no stranger to working with PTA. He worked with him on Phantom Thread in 2017 and Licorice Pizza in 2021. And I also have listed on here, Lucas isn't here, but he's working on the upcoming Matt Johnson project. Matt Johnson, who was the director of the BlackBerry movie that came out a couple of years ago with Glenn Howerton playing like the founder of BlackBerry and like what went wrong basically with that company. It's a fantastic like mockumentary style movie. He's got upcoming movie that I guess is like another biopic just called Tony, and it's about Anthony Bourdain. The music was by Johnny Greenwood, who, again, probably better known as the lead guitar player from Radiohead, and he's also been collaborating with PTA on like his last 5 movies. This movie stars Leo, if you haven't seen, Sean Penn, and Chase Infinity, who is the young actress who plays Leo's daughter in it, with support from Benicio del Toro, Regina Hall, Tiana Taylor, and many others. So again, real quick, just to show some critical success, if you will, budget of about $130 to $175 million. Seems like a wide range, probably because it's still a relatively new movie. But current box office sitting at about $205 million. I think, based off of my research, this is the most expensive movie that PTA has ever made, but it's also been his most successful. And it's also amazing because basically all of PTA movies are like critically acclaimed, and also 90% of them are box office failures. But that just goes to show that obviously our great artists aren't out here making, trying to make money, things like that. So it's 2 hours and 42 minutes, I think, and are rated R, obviously. So what's really interesting about this movie is that this adaptation has been in the works since like the early 2000s. So, some 25 years. PTA has known they've wanted to adapt this book. It was fortuitous, I guess we should say, because this movie was put on the back burner for so long due to unforeseen circumstances, I guess. And the fact that it's being made in 2025 is just unbelievable. So in the early 2000s, this is PTA coming right off of Boogie Nights in 97. Leo and PTA had been talking, and there's always been conversation of Leo working with PTA historically. But Leo doesn't work with PTA on Boogie Nights because he's going to do Titanic with James Cameron. So Leo goes and does Titanic and makes one of the most successful billion-dollar movies of all time. Instead of Leo going to Boogie Nights, we get Wahlberg, and we get Wahlberg's Boogie Nights, which again wouldn't change for anything in the world. And then we basically schedules on the line for 25 odd years. And I think it was his producer that went to PTA and was like, hey, this is the time for us to finally do this Vineland adaptation. And essentially, based off of what the book is, the themes of the book, like I said, political satire in the 90s around Reagan's re-election. I don't think it is a far step to say that, when they approach each other about trying to finally get this movie made. We are very divided as a country. This is set against, Trump's reelection, radical polarization, exacerbated by social media and like economic and social inequalities and all of that stuff. It seemed like a very prescient time to be putting out this movie. Part of the movie, not part of the movie, most of the movie, I think like 80% of the movie is also filmed on what's called VistaVision, which I think was made by Paramount, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to double check that. So VistaVision is a specific film format, which is really interesting because it was developed in the 1960s as a widescreen formatted camera. And basically, it was like in the 50s, I'm going to say in the 50s and 60s, basically, there was like a drought in cinema, like people going out to see cinema, because at that time cable television and all that stuff at home was widely available, so everyone was staying inside watching TV. They weren't going out to movie theaters. So that's basically when widescreen got invented. And there's a bunch of different like studios that invented their own cameras for widescreen and things of that nature, but VistaVision is one of them. And so basically VistaVision takes I think regular 8 perforation film that normally is fed vertically through a camera that gives you everything, the square picture, essentially. That is what people were seeing in their home. And VistaVision takes that 8 perf film and it flips it on its side and it feeds it horizontally through the camera, which is something that had never been done previously. So the result is that you get a really wide screen aspect ratio. And so this is developed. Theaters now put widescreen formats as like a premium format in like the 1960s when this was developed, and other ones from different companies. And it is basically one of the original driving factors of like getting people back into theaters. But yeah, so widescreen cameras essentially. And what's really interesting, and Ethan, you may recognize this. So last year's or 2024's movie, The Brutalist, also used VistaVision for some shots, not for everything, but used VistaVision for some shots. Is essentially a premiere larger format for larger wide shots. So The Brutalist had some VistaVision sequences, which I think for the most part was like the first time we had heard about it widely. It was the first time I remember hearing about it widely. It was happening in 2024. They cut it into the film. PTA goes and gets VistaVision cameras to shoot like 80% of one battle after another. And not only that, but once the movie is put out, like VistaVision projectors are like nigh impossible to get a hold of, but they were screening this movie in VistaVision in like LA, New York, and London, like 3 places in the world. And that was it. And there were very finite screenings. I was fortunate enough to get a ticket to go to New York and go see this in VistaVision. Sat my ass down in the seat. Movie starts. We're 10 seconds into the opening sequence and there's like audio desync. I'm like, shit, maybe they'll figure it out. Another 10 seconds later, screen goes black, and then we're just sitting there for 10 minutes. No, nothing. Movie kicks back up, and we're just watching the digital projection of it. I was like, God damn it. God damn it. Came all the way in New York to see this fucking VistaVision. I can only imagine that like the 16-year-old projectionist at the Regal at Union Square or whatever is just, his manager is probably like, all right, turn this thing on and let the film run through it. And if there's any problems at all, just move it to the side and plug the flash drive in, like fucking, we just gotta fucking turn and burn here. So, but it's really cool that he used these cameras to film on it. And like I was saying, the cameras have not been widely used since the 60s, essentially. They were actually provided by Giovanni Ribisi, who is like a well-known actor and cinematographer. He's been in movies like Lost Highway and Saving Private Ryan and Avatar, again, to bring James Cameron back around. And he's kind of just like an enthusiast. He essentially like was rebuilding these cameras and loaned them to PTA for the making of this film. I think they used 2 of them. So yeah, it's that 35 millimeter film stop that runs horizontally, which gets the wider picture, provides superior color, sharpness, and just great for cinematic landscapes. So there's a lot of I mean, even if you look at the poster for One Battle of Nothing, you're probably seeing the like the undulation of the road and the hills. If you ever see the poster, you're gonna be looking at that. There's a lot of that like real big epic kind of awesome landscapes in certain sequences of the film that I think the VistaVision really lends itself to. So to bring it all around to my theme of the action buddy comedy, basically the entire second act of this movie is a mini movie in itself with Leo and Benicio del Toro. And it is some of the most entertaining cinema I've seen in so long. So we're talking about the dichotomy of like De Niro and Grodin in Midnight Run. And it is essentially, I won't say it's not copy pasted, but the idea of it is copy pasted to the juxtaposition of these two characters. So Leo, who is, 16 years later, after he's done doing all of his revolutionary work, he's just like a stoner that sits at home and fucking watches Battle of Algiers, on his TV on repeat. And he's got his 16-year-old daughter, played by Chase Infinity, who he's just like super protective about, is never letting her go out of the house or like letting friends come over or anything like that. And he's lost all basically what I'll call killer instinct, as he was a revolutionary back in the past, and is just like an absolute bum that just does drugs and drinks all day.
Sure.
And then when shit hits the fan, he turns into a completely neurotic, paranoid, just like exactly, the Charlie Kelly with the red string, just like there's conspiracy here kind of thing, man. Like they're out to get me, absolutely maniac. And he meets up with Benicio's character, who is his daughter, played by Chase Infinity. His daughter's like sensei at the karate place they go to or whatever, at their dojo. And Benicio's character is just like zen fluidity and just like super chill. He's like, yeah, man, we'll get this done. We'll chill out. No problem. Let's sit here. Whoa, don't walk on the mat. Don't walk on. Let's chill. Hang on. Bow. All right, now let's go. And this entire time, Leo's like manically crawling around. There's cops going by. He's like, they're out to get me, man. They're out to get me. It's endless. It's endless, just chemistry and comedic timing with those two. And like I said, it's the score during that sequence and the cinematography during it, and the personality clash between those two and what goes on. I mean, you could watch just that middle sequence on repeat, and it's good Lord. It's fantastic. Not to mention that it lends itself to the prelude of the movie with the background on Leo and his other revolutionary characters, and then obviously the final act and like the whole resolution and how all of it ties together. It's just it's an unbelievable time. I would recommend Midnight Run to anybody. I'm like, absolutely, you need to go watch Midnight Run. One battle after another is like, you need to run to the closest movie theater that is still screening this and watch it. And watch it in the largest format you possibly can. They're all gone are the potential days of the VistaVision screenings. Maybe you're still catching it in IMAX. Maybe it has a little bit of a kind of like revival in theaters before the coming Academy Awards and stuff. I don't think it's like, I don't know if the run is completely done, but it is a Warner Brothers property as well. So there's potential for it to be hitting like HBO Max maybe. But I really don't know what the outcome on that is looking like with us so close to award season. I have no doubt in my mind that this will win this Best Picture. There was a fair amount of really good movies last year. But we're looking at Leo and PTA, who have been on like the press circuit constantly since this came out. Leo's shown up on like podcasts, and PTA did, I think, just win like best director at like the Critics' Choice Awards earlier this week or something. So we're starting to get a pretty good like idea of where people are leaning for this kind of thing. But this movie, I mean, you can just feel that everybody that was a part of this project is just pushing it as far as they can. And I think it's because they all believe in it. And I can tell you that I believe in it too. I mean, I watched this movie the night it came out and then went to get those VistaVision tickets the following weekend. So went to run it back in New York like 10 days later. I'm like, I will watch this movie until the day I die. It's unbelievably well crafted. It's a fantastic piece of art, and releasing in 2025 is, again, like I said, extremely prescient and just unbelievable timing, incredibly fortuitous. And if you have any kind of if there's any kind of hurt in your soul as an American as to like what kind of strife is going on in the country, you'll watch this movie and you'll feel a lot better about this, and it'll feed the optimism in you, because you should be proud to be an American, you know?
Yeah,
that's one thing I've heard
the movie
about.
Sounds good. I'll definitely check it out.
Slawter, I know you have a history with PTA as well. I think the first thing we ever talked about was Punch Drunk Love. I don't know if you've like revisited any of his other stuff, but I mean, this was Boogie Nights I just have spent more time with Boogie Nights, and I love it because it's just a party, you know? Yeah. But this movie's it's borderline masterpiece.
No, I feel like I've heard people describe it this way because there's a lot of movies that have come out, like Begonia and other films that are very similar, where they're kind of talking about political strife and everything that's going on. And one thing I think that is a core thing, especially for PTA too, is kind of like a simplistic optimism. And I've heard people say that this is like the movie that you'll watch it and you'll feel better at the end of it, as opposed to some of the other ones are kind of like, well, shit, I don't know what's going on now. It's kind of, everything's kind of messed up. But so I feel like that's very telling. And as a director too, I mean, I just feel like most of his movies are putting a very colorful adage to like a particular situation that generally everybody commonly has, but then maybe, you know, cranking it up to the max to kind of, you know, put it on a weird pedestal compared to the, you know, rest of the normal life that you're experiencing. And yeah, no, I definitely I'm going to see this film eventually when I have 3 hours to spare. So
yeah, cranking up to the max is a good way to put it. PTA is a filmmaker of very low lows and very high highs, but like with intent, you know. He can not low lows in terms of like this is a bad movie, but like he can make you feel like you're coming off of 4 straight days of cocaine and no sleep, you know.
Yeah.
Or he can make you feel like you're about to go change the world. You know, it's just unbelievable the resonance that this man has.
Is it your favorite PTA movie now?
It's really difficult. I need to spend more time with it before it takes that spot from Boogie Nights, but these two are definitely in contention for the top for sure.
Okay. All
right, boys. Well, I think we talked about some movies today, and I had a great time doing it. I appreciate you guys for joining. And like Jafar Panahi on most of his films, we're working on the skeleton crew today. No Lucas, no Tyler, no Graham. All these other guys got better things to do,
arrest,
apparently.
So
what was that?
I said I'm currently on house arrest.
You're currently on house arrest. Cool. All right. Next time I hear you, maybe because you're part of this podcast is going to be illegal. I'm going to put it on a flash drive and I will ship it to you and I'll have you upload it.
All right.
So I don't get arrested.
Keep your eye on the headlines. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys coming today. I just want to remind everyone that Broken Reel is available on all podcast platforms, Spotify, Amazon Music, etc. Please rate, follow, download, all those good things. And we're also found on YouTube at Third Unit Movies. The Third Unit Movies YouTube channel has our Broken Reel episodes historically. We've got some shorts that show highlights of the show. And we're going to have some more things coming in due time in 2026. So I'm super excited for that. So please, the Third Unit Movies YouTube channel, subscribe, like, and if you're there and you're listening to this episode, please comment your favorite 2025 release or discovery from last year. So I appreciate you guys for coming. And I just want to say one more thing. Green Acres, Beverly Hillbillies, and Hooterville Junction will no longer be so damn relevant, and women will not care if Dick finally got down with Jane on Search for Tomorrow, because black people will be in the street looking for a brighter day. The revolution will not be televised. Thanks for listening.
Bye.